Hey, Elizabeth and Kiwi and Marita. Oh, we're on Facebook. Let me just pull up Denise. Let's see. Hang
Hi.
on. Que pasa, senorita?
All good in
Como?
the hood. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm not going to lie. I'm all right. My back hurts, and I know that means something I got to work out. But I didn't take any medicine for it today. Usually, it doesn't happen very often, but it's been happening a little bit. But anyway, I didn't take any medicine, so you know, I didn't really deal with it that way. But it's starting to go away a little bit. How are you feeling? What's going on
Pretty
with
good.
you?
Pretty
Yeah,
good. It's been a November. I welcomed November. It was
welcome November. Yeah,
it was good to get out of October.
yeah. It was quite a doozy, wasn't it?
It was. It was a big month. Probably the biggest for
What
me
kind?
for about 18 years.
Really? Yeah, I think
Mm.
I've not heard anybody say that, but it sure seems like it was, and based on what people were saying.
Yeah.
Um, Did you get any kind of intel, like collective intel, as to what was happening in October?
For me, and I think a lot of other people as well, it was all about the separation wound and really transmuting that separation wound. So there was a lot of
Like,
grief, a lot of loss for a lot
yes,
of people
man.
as well. Yeah.
God, I feel, okay. So then, like, so what's November been like? I mean, like the first few days of November. Do you feel like it's passed, or do you think it's going to
Um,
keep coming?
it's always keeping coming, isn't it? Like it never goes away. But it's certainly not. On the 2nd of November, I just woke up and was like, ah, here I am, I'm back. You know, and you
uh,
realize that you've not been there for a while, and then you're like, ah, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be.
well,
Not on
I just wonder. I, I mean, obviously, Marita says November feels worse. I've been feeling pretty good, but today, well, I didn't want to get off track. My mind's not where it needs to be. Um, God, what was I going to say? Oh, what I was going to say is, like you said, well, yeah, you're right. It's not going to stop. But I mean, like on individual issues, like say, for instance, the original wound or the original wound of separation. I don't know if that's specifically what you're talking about, but that's what it
yeah.
feels like. Um, it's like, are we going to separate more stuff? Is that the same thing as detaching? I guess it is, isn't it?
It feels a little bit
Separating.
different.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how. For me, what I feel about it as we move towards unity consciousness, anything that's linked to that feeling of separation, that core deep wound of separation is being brought up now to be transmuted to love and to be, acknowledged. And I think, yeah, detachment just has a slightly different feel to it to me. Because you can be not
Well,
separate from someone, but still be detached.
yeah. 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 I think there is a different meaning there. I think this grief though, um,
Mm.
what is that? Are we grieving losing human aspects we're not going to get back? Or what we thought were human aspects?
It feels to me like the grief is just something that has to be let out. It's something that we're all holding on to, whether it's from our own lives, in this life, from past lives, in our DNA, whatever it is, it's just there. And for me, something happened at the beginning of the month, and there was grief associated with that, but it was way disproportionate to the actual event. It was a really, really deep grief, and like I say, I've not felt anything like that for a long, long time. And when I was asking my guides about that, it was kind of like the feeling I had was, well, I'm doing grief. I may as well do as much as I can take for the collective. And it just seems that we are really releasing the really deep core wounds. And this is the big one. The separation wound is the underlying wound for so many other things. So, you know, the polarities, the differences, the perceived differences between male and female, all of those things, so much, you know, abandonment, rejection, it's all got that separation underneath it. Like, very important things on their own, but the separation wound is underneath that. And I think it's the biggest wound that we have to heal. And it's an illusion. You know, that's the crazy thing. The pain we feel from it is real, but actually it's an illusion, because there is no separation, because we are all one. But we're not there yet. Like, we're not there in our consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, there seems to be more and more and more and more people, you know, catching on to this, whatever you want to call it, this truth. I mean, I'm noticing it. I spent some time the last few days looking at other broadcasts, which I don't normally do, but just to kind of see what's happening. All different types of, I guess, genres. But it's funny because, you know, even if I look at like people that I'm friends with, right? Like, I've got some old friends from my old life, even going back to elementary school, and I noticed they're popping up. And then I also noticed that same kind of newness or freshness or expansion in some of these broadcasts with some of the things they're talking about, which are not normally what they talk about, but, you know, things such as the ascension or expanded awareness, or, you know, I mean, in one way or another, they're saying the same thing. And people are like, you know, well, waking up.
Awesome.
So you throw that into the mix. I don't know. I'm starting to think that there's two. I don't know. I hate to feed any type of separation, but I think what I'm trying to explain is a temporary thing, and there is a group. And I'm not saying this is gospel. I'm just saying this is what I'm feeling. But like, there's a group, and I think we all know who we are, that's being called to step up and kind of cleaning out the final pieces. Really, you know, really. I mean, to a point where we can serve, which is what we all want to do. And it feels like this is going to come to fruition in 2020. It feels like a big wave, you know, just like it's coming. But we're not going to get slammed by it. We're going to be like surfing on it, showing people how to do it. Something like that. Not a very good metaphor, but something like that. So let's talk about your the stuff that you pull down, which is the light language, and then also the imagery, which I think is also in some way a sacred geometric light language type of expression. So, I mean, how long have you been doing that, and what guides, if any, are involved in that?
So when I first moved to Byron Bay in Australia, that's when the light language started coming through. Before that, I was attuned to Reiki in 2001. And for me, what happens when you receive a Reiki attunement, it opens you up. It feels like it pops the veil a little bit. It connects you to source. So that separation is actually not there. And so I was doing Reiki. I was a Reiki master in 2003 and went to Australia at the end of 2004. And as soon as I got to Byron Bay, which is very much on Lemurian land, these different frequencies started coming through. And they would come through in what I was doing with my hands, like it seemed like different symbols were coming through. And I would do different things over the body and on the body. And I realize now that that was actually written light language, but I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't really know what light language was at the time. And it wasn't really until last year that I actually started writing it down. And yeah, it's probably just over a year ago that the written codes have started coming through. The light language itself started coming through in treatments. I've used my voice for a while in treatments and in tones and frequencies. And when I was attuned to something called Anubis Reiki, that's when I really started using my voice in treatments. Sound I'd used for a while, but not my voice. So initially it would be tones. And then the words started coming through. I got one sentence through in about 2011. That was the light language sentence, and that was it. No more, like, for years.
Yeah, that must have been frustrating. I saw a Cryon video that just came out and it said "frustrated light workers" or something like that. You know, I want to go back to that, but you brought up Reiki, and I've had people, you know, with and without my, you know, permission or whatever you want to call it, or knowing, do Reiki, you know, remotely. And, you know, probably just a handful of times. I know one time, it was a lady who had lost a daughter, because a lot of the connections I made when I first started waking up were women who had lost a teenager. And anyway, they both called me up one night in the middle of the night, in like, you know, just in the middle of the night. She's like, "Me and my daughter, this is what we do. We work together. She's on the other side, and you need some help." And I did. I felt it that night. It was incredible on my legs. But I've never really, you know, had a hands-on one. But I've talked to quite a few people who, through that type of modality or one very similar, seem to have like an awakening experience. I wonder why that is. Is the Reiki master opening up their field totally as an energy practitioner does, and then the clients allowing it or merging with it? How does that work?
It's interesting because the way it was explained to me at the time, I don't think is probably exactly how it is. But it was, you know, a lot of things that we are feeling into now are quite different from how they were, but it's or how we thought they were. But it's like we needed that grasp of it to get us to where we are now. So the way that it was explained to me is that it opens you up as a channel. It connects you to source energy so that you have this almost like a phone line. You have this direct connection to source, and then source energy comes through you, and it comes through your hands. And actually through it, it's as if you've got a tube down the middle that the energy goes into, and the less negative energy there is in there, the more space there is for light. And then that tube gets bigger and bigger until you become that tube, basically, and you become the energy. You're totally embodying it. So it's like breathing. You're emitting and transmitting that energy all the time. And the way I think of it now, as I said before, it is almost as though it just clears that veil of separation a little bit, and it's like it just pops holes in it. But when you have the attunement, which is what tunes you into those frequencies of energy, it's for most people, it's a deeply profound experience, and it's not like anything they've ever experienced before. So they may get strong visuals, colors. A lot of people go on a very, very deep journey, and they'll meet their guides or aspects of themselves. So yeah, really for most people, it's a very, very profound experience. But I think you're right, what you said about the Reiki master opening up their field. But I think that happens in a treatment, but there's just something a little bit more that happens in an attunement. And I've attuned hundreds of people. I have no idea how many at this stage. And when I was a nurse, we were attuning hospital people that worked in the hospital. So there were people that came to us for the attunements, like the hospital chaplains, who were already channeling energy. And you can imagine as a chaplain, they're pretty close to source already, but even they could notice the difference in the amount of energy that was coming through them and through their hands. There was a lady who was a spiritual healer, and she was blown away because she'd been doing spiritual healing for 20 years, but immediately after the attunement, she was kind of going like this and could really feel the difference in the energy that was being transmitted.
Is it focused on the chakras when you do an attunement?
No, the attunement, it is when you do a treatment, but the attunements are more you're given symbols as a Reiki master, and you use those symbols to open people up. What I do now is quite different. I've been doing something called crystal light attunements for a few years, and these started coming through probably about 5 years ago. So I was just very much guided to do something different when I was actually in that attunement process. So my body was working in a different way. And it feels to me when I do that one that it's connecting people in with the crystalline frequencies of energy, and also connecting with the crystalline grid. So it's like you've got crystalline frequencies coming down from above, and you've got crystalline frequencies coming up from the earth as well. So you're not really focusing on the chakras. However, the energy does go into all of the chakras. It's like it goes all the way down to the base and just clears that tube.
Yeah, like a column.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like that the practitioner is reliant on, first of all, the instruction or the training, and then the intuitiveness and the imagination, because it seems like they're propelling something at a quantum level, through their thoughts, which is attached to their connection, because they've opened up. Yeah. So, and I've just wondered about that. I've never really got into it too deep. I'm not a real conventional light worker. So, but now as far as your, your light language and your imagery, are there specific guides involved, or angels or galactics, or is it all over the place?
Because I've always connected to source since I started doing this, I feel that the energy comes from source. However, my feeling has always been that there's many beings around you. So the energy is coming through source, but there's many beings around you that are helping with this as well. So when I speak light language, there's many frequencies that come through at the same time. And it's almost like there's a row of frequencies, but one might be a little bit more near the front. So you might be more aware of that one than the others. But yeah, it's many frequencies coming through at the same time. But it's source energy. Does that make sense?
And yes. Now, in the sequential aspect of your images that you're putting out, because I know you've put them out with different themes or energetic activations, or whatever you'd call it. Is there a correlation? I mean, as you receive this stuff, does it kind of follow what the collective is needing, just as you anchor stuff? Is it a method of anchoring new energies and that type of thing?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't always know what they're for, and when I do personal ones for people, I might not get a theme as such. It's just whatever is needed for them for their next step, for them to rise. The one that I've been working on most recently is to do with the separation. And often when you're working with different energies, you embody all aspects around that energy. So for example, if it was a template for joy that you were bringing in, you may well feel joy, which is awesome, but you may well have the opposite frequencies held in your body until you actually birth the codes. So it can be quite an uncomfortable process to actually bring the codes in. And the same when the light language activations on the earth grids come through as well. It can floor a lot of people, because it's really, you're holding all the distortion as well as the pure frequencies. So for example, when I was going through all this separation stuff last month, I was bringing in codes for that. And they were just the most uncomfortable codes I've ever brought in. I didn't enjoy the process at all. Nothing was working right. Nothing was going together. And I'd look at it and be like, it doesn't work. Like, nothing's working together. And then I thought, that's because it's a separation one. Of course, nothing's going to work together on it.
It sounds like what you're describing is like integrating the polarities. So if the theme comes in and it's joy, then the opposite of joy, you're clearing both, or I guess integrating both of them, which I guess this whole trip's about integrating. But that's interesting because polarities, you know, of course, I live with Morgan, which is a big part of her shadow work teachings is through, you know, integrating polarities. But it does seem like that more people, it's becoming more acceptable as we move further into unity consciousness, that people are owning the opposite side of the spectrum that they're less comfortable with or less likely to consider themselves like. That's the hard one, right? I'm an empath and I'm not a narcissist. I have no narcissist frequencies. But like you're describing, one way or the other, through light language, through these images, or through whatever methods, we're having to integrate and own everything, right?
Absolutely. And I was guided by my Reiki master when I became a Reiki master in 2003 to do shadow work. And she said, as a master, you have to integrate all aspects of yourself, and that includes your shadow. So all those aspects that you've denied you are, but that you can see in other people, and that especially the ones that trigger you, are the ones that you need to look at for yourself. And I've loved what Morgan's been saying about the figure of 8 and getting to the still point. So if you've got that polarity, you have to look at the other polarity. And that was actually quite new to me. I haven't heard that expressed before, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. I'm living proof of it. And I resisted. But I guess it's natural. I think it's natural for us to resist things that we don't do, you know, or at least in our, you know, because it's such a complex thing if you only look at it from the human 3D part of it. But it's true. And I think when you do 0 point and find the, you know, the center of that infinity sign, your body feels it. I mean, you can feel it. You can feel the shift. You can feel the change. You know, it takes a little while, like she says, for it to register in the brain, but you can actually feel when the energy shifts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been doing the, the images for clients? You do them in individual sessions?
Yes, not always. It depends if that's what they want, but I can do standalone codes as well. So that's been just under a year that I've been doing those, and they've changed a lot in that time.
I was going to say, do you see your practice or the methods you're using in your practice or whatever? Do you see are those evolving and as quickly as we're all evolving, or is it
absolutely. It's I love doing them, apart from the ones that feel really uncomfortable, but I do love doing them. And then there's so many apps on the phones these days, like mirror apps and filters and all the rest of it. It's just such a joyful process of creativity. Like, I love being in that space and I get really excited. I did some for Shanine and Paul as well. That one evolved from Shanine's. Those were your Soulogy, the superabundance codes, those ones. That one is super. Oh, I can't see that one.
There's a reason I'm looking at them.
Yeah, that was an interesting process doing that one, because that took weeks. That was the first one that took a really long time. And I watched quite a few Soulogy compilation things that you had. So it was like those people's energy needed to go into it. And the very last dot, like, I kept thinking I was nearly finished and there'd be more dots to put in. And the very last dot, and I was like, this is the last dot. You were just saying something about, it was something about your abundance and about moving into it. And it was just so appropriate that as I put that last dot, you were just speaking those words.
You can't make this shift up.
Not that abundance, but it's an aspect.
I don't know that we've ever done a show one-on-one. I know we've done them with Elizabeth. No, I didn't think so. I was trying to get you on. I remember that. But your light language, you do some singing with it. Had you sung? Did you sing before that started? Did you ever sing?
When I lived in Byron's a very creative place, and there's lots of musicians that live there. And I always lived in shared houses, and I just happened to live with a lot of musicians. And I would want to harmonize. I love to harmonize, but I didn't have the balls to do it with them. So they'd be outside singing, and I'd be in my room harmonizing with them. And eventually, a friend, Jessie Rose, I asked if I could actually sing with her. So she would let me practice with her. And the first song that I ever sang with her was Jolene, where I went on stage. And my legs, we stood up, my legs nearly buckled under me. I was so, so nervous. And I worked at a backpackers doing treatments. And there was a talent show there, and that's where we did it. And I was so nervous. But I think in the end, I harmonized with about 4 or 5 different people. Still really, really nervous every time. But it did get a bit easier. So no, in answer to your question, I've not really been singing that long.
Yeah. So were you the backup vocals, the harmonizer on Jolene?
Yeah.
That's a really cool song. Very cool song. Well, it's true though. You said something about etheric balls. I'll just add the adjective. There's something about this process that we're going through that requires you to not just recognize them, but accept them. And I think that energy's in the air, at the moment and rising, where people are stepping up like yourself. It's important.
It really is the time. And to push yourself out of your comfort zone. As you know, I've been doing this work a long time, but very much in the background. I'm quite happy to do it in the background, but I know my guidance is, no, you've got to be more prominent and more apparent. So yeah, uncomfortable as it is, I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, and hats off to you for that. And what I'm noticing too, and I'm noticing this with Soulogy too, and myself, and as I look at the whole thing, the level of expression that people are putting out there is getting purer and purer, and with that comes the contrast of the less than aligned in all of us. So it's interesting what you say about your practice too, because it literally, you get up every day and it's like out with the old, in with the new.
Who am
I'm
I
trying
today?
to go right. We've been up here for a month in the mountains in Northern California in this cabin, and I've occasionally gone in. Well, I go into the archives and put stuff together and all that, and then I'm like, I want to write something, and I think I've written a couple of things, and because I like writing, I just haven't done it in a while. Maybe I'll make some music, and I can't pick up the vibe, and I keep getting that it's time for what would you call it, when you redo something, not like, it's time for a facelift, like an energetic facelift. Like let's take it to the next level. Let's see how more raw we can be, or more spontaneous, we can be, or creative, with, and I think that comes with our expanded awareness and elevations. It only makes sense that everything's going to parallel that. So, that's an interesting part of it, just watching everybody and watching many people that come on this show, that how much they've evolved their practice or their art in the last few months. It's just been, it's been everywhere. I see it.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to observe, and it's not a slow process, is it either? It's kind of like, oh, I'm doing this now, and I'm actually doing this quite well. It's I wouldn't have expected that I'd have been adding the things that I'm doing now to my practice. My practice stayed the same for a long, long time, really, probably for about 14 or 15 years, but it's really quite different now.
Yeah, it is. From what I'm seeing, like I was saying, it's like that separation's taking hold everywhere. And I guess that's what I'm saying is I guess ultimately what's occurring is people are, becoming into further and further alignment, which means everything they do is affected. Now, when you in your, not in your practice, but in your day-to-day life, do you have a choice when the light language comes in, or do you make time every day to connect and commune to bring it down?
don't always have a choice. Again, when I was living in Byron Bay and I lived across the road from the beach, I'd always take my cup of tea in the morning across to the beach and just hide away in the shrub at the back. And every day I would do a light language activation. And it would, it's not just on me, it's coming through, it's the earth grids as well that I'm activating. So I would do that every day. And it occurs to me to do it more when I'm outside than when I'm inside. And I'm much more inside in England than I used to be in Australia. Yeah. So I don't always do it every day, but I feel that it would be of benefit if I did. And a few weeks ago, I was thinking I must do like a 21 day every day and see how different I feel bringing it in. It's most days.
You should do that and broadcast it.
Yeah, I thought about, I did think about that. And I have bought a tripod, so you never know. But I think I'm just a bit of a commitment phobe as well. So I think that's why I've not put it out there, because once I say I'll do it, then I'll have to do it, because when I do commit, I tend to commit to things. So yeah, if I do, I'll have to do it.
I think the best thing to do is don't even say anything, just get on there and do it. And since you should, you know, since you said it's in your best interest to be doing it every day, maybe we can help you. Maybe you can do something right now and connect and see what you can come up. Now, when you do that, and you can do it if you want to, I'm pulling your leg, but you're more than welcome to. I love your light language. When you do that light language, and you may have already answered this, or I think you were talking about the images. Do you know what's being said in, like, can you translate it to a human language, or does it kind of come in all together?
I think some people can. My feeling on it is that it's quantum and not linear. So it doesn't necessarily translate. And my feeling on that is that one person may get a translation, which could be their translation of it. Someone over there may get a completely different translation that's right for both of them. And because it is quantum, so it gives the person what they need. And for me, I've always done it for activation purposes. You know, it holds the codes of creation. So for me, it's always been about putting in new templates, that kind of thing. However, having said that, there's been some calls that I've been on where we have spoken to each other. And it's like higher self is speaking to higher self. And there's one lady in particular that always seems to understand what's being said. I don't have a clue what I'm saying, but she seems happy with that I'm responding to her light language in an appropriate way.
I can. Yeah. And there's something I'm not. Boy, I have seen it on the show, like on camera, like with you, and then I've seen some, you know, in person. But like Romeo came down from LA. We went to Sedona, and I asked him. Actually, it was a Morgan's idea. She's like, see if Romeo will freestyle light language with Shakina. And they did, and it was cool. But what I was saying is like when it's like, I've never like had a session where somebody did light language for me. But of course I live with, you know, whatever she is, all those things that she is. And so we've had that occur. It used to occur quite a bit when we were first kind of coming together. It still does. But what I'm saying is that I pretty much always understood what she was saying. Yeah, almost always. Like I remember going to, you were mentioning Lemuria. I remember going to Kauai, and then she came down, and then we had like, I don't know, it was like 6 weeks or 7 weeks of kind of like, you know, going from place to place. How are we going to do this? You're going to have to go back tomorrow. And so it was very intense, but we were having these Lemurian experiences, and the language that would come out, you know, during these experiences I knew what they were. Like I knew, I can see hear the different dialects, but I knew it was Lemurian. So yeah, I think they're I think it's, yeah, like the closest thing, the light language itself, I guess what I'm saying is as close as you're going to get to the human language when it comes to trying to translate light language. I don't think you're going to get any, you know, clear words. But yeah, So, I mean, I don't know if you want, or whatever you would like to do. If there was something you would like to do, if you'd like to do some light language or an activation or a blessing or just keep talking, I'm cool with everything. You know that.
Do you want me to bring some codes in for your back?
For my back?
Mm.
If you want to, that's fine. Yeah, if you want to, I'm
Sure.
open to that.
I think there's more besides that, but I'm getting the nudge to do that. And it comes through my hands as well. So it's kind of like a different frequency that comes through my hands. Ki holo dord anamakiale kiarat asht arat anamakiana a okuya erut unamakiana na hialo uno kuista kulikiano makulekite anakusta hele inda arut unamakoma ehiano kulukut unamakanaki erata he it unamakanaka ayasto una Kilekina mako oyashta, helehiando to onamakalakana ashtirat anamakoya. Helehiant urut anamakadat ashta. Hulea anamakut a inu uik it I a ukista. Kulehiant urlana namakia nomukusta. Kilehiant urut anamakelat adat ashterlana namakaa. Hulehiano good ud urada namakia no uyaka anaka Isht urut anamaka. Unayayo. Ahu. Kialaua. Erat ostarat anamikiana mo oyaka. Helehianto mo ko unistarat anamaqua papana. Kilearato namakarat ostar. Helehianto urut anamakarat ostarat anamaka. Elekit anamaka ostaranama. Elekit manakit at ostar. Helehianto lana namakila lakito onamakat urt atatosta. Helenkit lakudo namakalakito onamakato duurut atasta. Hiana makilakito yana kostara unamuya. Elihianto lana ku uituya tatot osta. Heliano kulakito anamakilakito Amakilakito anamakilakito onamakilakito prista. Halekitokulakata anamakilakito yatata. Hiale anakulakito anamakia toya. Kustarat nanamakia tot orot anama elekiano otasta. Otananakilakito onamakilakita iesta. Heleana nanamakulakita anaki itiarot onama. Colegian told like a Anna Stoilana, here to the Erot Onamakaya Usta. He Erot Onamaka Lakista, Heliano Onamakada Onamakia Tototoya. Hialayo. Ilete tiarla nanamakilatana. Ulakina sterla anamakutlakna at oista. Heliana od orot anamakia totot oista. Edit anamakilakanamakilakanamakila. Helian dukulakata unumakata ashta. Hianokuya nana kuya tot oista. Ort anamakata.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I hadn't had something like that happen in a while on the show. Because I always connect with the higher selves, but like as the show's starting, but I could see your higher self. I could see her before you started. And she had like a harp in her hand. It wasn't a harp, but it looked like a harp.
Oh wow.
And but it was not not of this world. It was some kind of crazy instrument, but it was very cool. Like your hands, when I looked down, your hands were doing the same thing she was doing up there. Very cool. And it seemed like it was tied to creative energy. Like okay, like so the physical manifestation is representing the block and creativity, and also um, the I'm getting this, but I can't put it into words. And the other part is like the well, what goes with the root, you know, the whole survival thing and letting go and trusting and all that, and they're kind of tied together. But I saw a lot of red and orange and yellow up in what she was doing. You know, I could see it actually in your body. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of
nice.
cool. All right, what
A
it
lot,
so now go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of what I'm doing, it's like when I do the activations on the earth, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen close up of a spider when they're actually making a web. It feels like I'm doing
Yeah.
that. It feels like I'm bringing the frequencies into people's energy field, and then the obsolete programs are allowed to go. It's like bringing in the new programs to replace the distorted ones, so the distorted ones can then leave. But it is like
Yeah.
I'm weaving a web of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good explanation. Now, have you met you've met a few people uh, you know, that you met on Facebook. Have you met them in
Mm-hmm.
person?
Yeah, it's been a
And
big year for that.
has it I thought you had. Have I mean how have those encounters been? I mean, a lot more of that's happening, and I'm bringing this up because I think more and more people are going to do that. And I've had quite a few experiences, and some of them were, you know, um, well, they're all over the place. You know, I mean, and I guess what I'm saying is, what have you noticed when these, and regardless of what happens, are like-minded individuals who are, you know, working on their personal expansion and such. I mean, what's that been like? I mean, when you come together with people in the flesh, in the physical,
Off the charts,
not in the flesh,
really off the
not
charts.
intimate, not.
So it's amazing just to connect, you know, like we're doing now. And I do that with quite a few people as well, you know, connecting online. That is amazing. And you're sharing codes, even just from doing that. But to actually meet people in the physical is just a whole different level. So Elizabeth, for example, Elizabeth and I had done a lot of work together, but we'd never actually met until Voices of the Light Tribe in Glastonbury. So met many people there, and then I went up to the Isle of Lewis as well, and met up with Stella Fairbairn and Grace Solaris and Pamela Johnson, and I'm probably forgetting heaps of
Wow,
people that
man,
were there at that
that's
one.
like
So
the who's who of the European divine. What? So it was Grace, and of course Elizabeth, but and Grace and Stellar.
yeah.
Wow, wow,
And Amrita Melchizedek as well. She hosted the Voices of the Light Tribe. Oh,
yeah.
my name's going, my brain's going blank for names now. Tamra Oviat.
Oh yeah, is that the one that Miguel Dean went to?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so Miguel Dean was there as
Oh,
well. Yeah.
oh, you got a big smile. You got a big smile on your face when you said his name. All the women are in love with Miguel. But yeah, so you
His
must have had
beautiful
quite a
lady
few.
was there as well.
What's that?
And his beautiful lady was there as well.
Oh, okay. I don't want to get you in trouble. Just kidding. But I mean, that's a lot of people to have in one place. I've been to some gatherings like that. How many people did y'all have there? I think that was the second one Enrita's done, isn't it?
I think it was the first Voices of the Light Tribe.
Okay.
Well, there was 22 facilitators. So there was 22 people actually, yeah, up on
Just
stage at different times.
yeah.
Um,
God, that's a lot of people.
I think we had about 60 in the room
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
And the work that we did there was just phenomenal. It really was.
Wow.
I can't even describe the work that we did there. So many really incredible light workers in one place. Like it really, it was amazing.
It sounds like you guys did. You said it was incredible the work we did together. You know, some of the ones I've been to, there's a lot of speeches. You know, I don't know how else to describe it. Presentations, speeches, whatever you want to call it. I have a hard time staying glued on those. And there's different types of expressions and performances and such. But it sounds like you guys intentionally were doing work with you know, as a group.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Was that a big theme in the gathering?
Yes, it was. A lot of us were put together. So there would, some people did stuff. Oh, of course, Yukia was there as well. How can I forget Yukia?
Mm.
It was Yukia that, through Yukia, that I got introduced to Soulogy. It was Yukia's first chat with
Oh,
you
wow.
was when I first was introduced to Soulogy. So some people did things on their own, but most people did stuff in little groups.
Yeah.
There was some very, very deep masculine, feminine energy healing that went on as well. That was really, really profound. But we did a lot of work to the energy grids. We did a lot of work. And Glastonbury is an amazing place, but there's a lot of shadow there as well. And the room that we used for the event was where they used to hang people. So even though there's been a lot of work
Oh, that's
done
nice.
in that
Be
room, you know,
nice to eat lunch in there. Or they used to hang people. Yeah, you're right about that. That's a really good point you just brought up. So I've been to Shasta, I've been to Sedona, and quite a few other places. But you know, if you have the extremity, or say the greater presence or expanded presence of a higher light in an area, you're going to have the other end of it. Everything's available on an equal basis. So that's a really good point. Because I struggled a little bit when I went to Sedona last year for the first time, and I saw like two different communities or two different energies, I think would be a better way to put it. Because it really came down to the individuals I met, but it was like I could see, especially after going back this year, I could see how that the energy that was more authentic and more in the background, which was represented by a lot of women like you who've been in the background, who are slowly stepping up. I could see that force taking, you know, taking charge, you know, which is cool, which is cool. And a part of that is like in Rita's deal, a lot more women are stepping up onto that stage, you know, no pun intended, but like the first ones, couple ones I went to in Sedona last year were like 90% men. And I thought, wow, this is weird. I'm in Sedona, and, you know, everywhere you look, it's 80-20 female to male in the light worker communities. But it's good to see the women stepping up now. It really is. It's incredible.
And to have everyone together in that one space, you know, there's such an exponential increase. Even if there was just 5 of you together, that exponential increase of it being, you know, more than 5 times the energy. Yeah, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I wonder too, you know, with these things starting to happen more and more, like-minded souls coming together. If they're like with Morgan and I, you know, obviously we have a lot of mutual or joint experiences, you know, dimensional and such. But you know, you would think that as more and more people come together in these gatherings, and there's more than 2, that's going to even, you know, expound it. Have you had anything like that happen at a conference or otherwise, where you've been with someone and you're having kind of a mutual, I don't know if it's a hallucination or interdimensional or dimensional experience, but you know what I mean?
Nothing's coming to mind of sharing experiences like that. I mean, we did do quite a lot of shared meditations, but I think everyone kind of had their own experience in that. I don't remember anyone, you know, coming forward and they've been to the same galactic place or whatever.
Well, I mean, like, if I think about the couple of times you and Elizabeth have been on here and you just kind of do your thing, especially the last time, that was incredible. I cut out that piece because I'm going to put that on the channel one whenever the network
Oh, cool.
launches. Yeah, it's very cool. But what I was going to say is, I mean, I picture you and Elizabeth meeting for the first time and you're just going into the same type of rap. I mean, that's to me is on par, if not even more so than a dimensional experience, because it's spontaneous and it's involving, you know, at the human level, at this density. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean,
And there's a
so
massive
I
sharing of
know.
food as well when you
What's
actually
that?
meet. There's a massive sharing of codes as well when
Yes.
you meet face to face as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a huge year of expansion for me, for
Yeah.
sure.
And the other thing too is, and I never noticed this until a few people mentioned it to me, but they're like, man, we just got back from that conference. And I'm like, having to decompress for like 5 or 6 days because it's like a huge energetic infusion.
Mm,
And that's why I was making the comment, because I've seen situations where there's a lot of acting out, and there's a lot of, stuff said behind, someone's back. But I realized what it is. I mean, it's just the fact that all this energy came together. And, like I said yesterday on one of the shows, all that light comes together, the shadows got nowhere to go. it's just it's just better mirrors for yourself, because it takes you back to the same place, the same rabbit hole. It's not them, it's me.
and we're still doing the work. None of us are done yet. We've all got stuff that we're still working on, and those kinds of interactions are going to bring those things up and out as well. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah, it's you mentioned a quantum thing a while ago about the light language, and I think that's what's happening is, I mean, if I look at my daily life with Morgan, there's more and more telepathy every day. Less is said, more is understood. More. You don't have to talk about it, and I think the same thing is occurring in these gatherings, and I think it's going to move very quickly because, at the end of the day, we're exchanging code. I'm
Mm,
taking from you what I might be deficient in or whatever, and vice versa. And we're all, making this big soul soup. And it's just really interesting um, to know this is happening now, because everything's pointing to that. Everything's pointing
mm.
to, this is good. This is great. And it serves us very well. And we can expand on it. But coming together individually, at selected points on the grid is a powerful, powerful proposition. It really
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. Absolutely. I wonder if the conferences in the future will all be just sat there in silence, just
I've
trans.
often, yeah, I've often thought, yeah, I remember back when I was in the original studio and I started, I was just doing what you do. It was, you write some words and channel and you find some music and then you rap it out, and then I would make the video productions, the different video productions, and I always remember getting, you know, because what I was told was, like, when you do a music video, what I call Soul Speaks video, so you'd have the lyrics, that's one frequency, then you have the melody, and that's another frequency, and you might
Mm,
have a binary heartbeat behind it, and that's another one, and then you have the imagery. And I was told that you should be able to turn the sound off and the images tell a story, basically, right?
mm,
And then I would think to myself, yeah, the day's going to come when we're going to turn on our phone or whatever we're watching, and it's just going to be all nonverbal imagery, sounds, music, it's and I think light language is part of that. I really
mm.
do. That's why I love the prospect of people doing light language behind, with music accompanied, like Romeo
I
does with
did
the
that
rap.
actually. A
Did you?
friend, yeah, I did some. She's Amy Lee Francis on Spotify. Time to Rise is the name of the album, and I did light
Mm,
language on it. I think there's three
wow.
tracks that don't have light language on it, but the rest of them do. It was awesome.
Well, I would love to play with something like that. I've asked a few people. I'd love to get like like, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes of light language, get the MP3 and then find some music and play with it. You know, Romeo's done some of that. When Shakina and Romeo got up at that Soulogy Soul Gathering in Sedona, a lady with a harp played.
Yeah,
You know, she started him. That was very cool. And then it was really cool. That lady from the audience came up, and she's like, "I want to get up to us." And I was like, you know, I was holding the camera, and I'm like, well, I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you? I didn't know what to do, and then she just ignored me and got up there and did it anyway. And I said, "Good job." But I think that's part of that energy that we're talking about, where people are stepping up, and even though that was just one situation, she was actually energetically expanding herself and everybody in that moment when she got up and did that. Laura Cruz out of New Mexico, out of Arizona. Yeah. Right
Todd,
on.
have I got time to bring some more codes in?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'm feeling this separation. There's codes relating to that. And just to say as well, I'm going to hold a Zoom call in a couple of weeks, maybe on the 21st or the 22nd, gathering people together to really work with this deep wound, to transmute it, but also to bring in the unity consciousness grid as well. That was something that Elizabeth and I, that was part of our remit of what we were doing at the Voices of the Light Tribe. But there's, you know, there's obviously more to do. These are the codes that I
oh yeah, I have that. I can put that up. Hang on.
Thank you.
Is that you want me to put it up?
Yes, sure.
I can put it up. Hang on. Sorry about that. I'm not myself. What the hell did I just do?
Oh, you've got a busy screen.
Oh wait, hang on. Let me go over here, and I'm in the wrong place. No wonder. Okay, here we go. Boom, boom. All right, wait. Here we go. Don't give up on me. I'm not with it, but we'll make it. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Okay. God, I wish I could make it bigger. Anyway, can you see it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is the separation wound, the original separation wound.
Yeah.
Now, do you hand draw this first, or I guess that's all.
Yeah. So this is just the original that's had nothing done to it. This is the one that I will put colors in it and all the rest of it, but this is the original one. First one I've actually done on black paper, actually.
Wow.
Okay. Oops. Shall I start with the codes?
Absolutely. However you want to do it.
I don't know if you want to keep that up or whatever you feel to do.
I think probably we want to look at you. You got to see your hands moving too.
Yeah. Okay, so I just invite everyone to bring their awareness to the heart space. Breathing in love and breathing out love. And just feeling that beautiful web of energy as we all connect our hearts, with those who will be watching this on the replay, and connecting our hearts to the heart of Gaia, the heart of the sun, and the heart of Creator. Elegiorut onamakilakit oyster. Elekit anamakulakit anamakilaka. Heleanokulakit iarut anamaka ast. Helegiat orlanamakit iarut oinama. Heleananakulaki ianamakalakit oyster. Elekit oinanamakilakit urut odamakid a. Helegialananakulakit onamakilakit oyster. Helegianakulakit oyster. Helearta onamakarata astu. Heliketa onanamakilakit ianana io. Hoi tadata oinekit urt anamaki iet atata oya. Heliketa lakna ayatata oinamakit oi. Helenakilekutukut alanamakalakutuk ishta. Heli hana dut lakadat gut oina makatatatasht. Heli ki ditut onna makala ana ka a. He edu lana namit iorut onna makatatatasht. Good lekena madlaki ana ka at oya. Kohona bat anda dut oina makatlakat onna mashta. Hakat onna makila ana kata idat onna makatlakat. Holle start anana makia nana oyata na ka a uata. Kule hiarto onna makilait arado okana akvist uit. He lakidikidikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikudikud dot on my kid like it ear and I'm a go eat dashed. Hey, like it look and I'm a kid like I like it. I don't know. My kid like it on the market. I like it. I don't know. And I'm a kid like it. I like it. On the market like the oyster. I like it. I like it. On the like it. On the market like a dash. I lay in a cat oya and a maca or it is at oya. I lay out on a market like at an oyster. I like it. Oyster like it. Oya. Helian anadot on the macala anaco uita. Et eart on a macala at eart on a ma. Here like a do uiana macala uiato. Onakaya he. Tui. Elete just with Adanamatat Aya. Et like in the Nohiana market like Easter. Et like a dog on the market like the Anna. Oh, ja, na, stashtaret anamokoyeter onamaka asht ort adada it edata. Ole edata onamakala esta. So breathing deeply. Keeping your awareness in your heart space. And just allowing those codes to integrate in your human vessel and anchor deep into the core, the very heart of Gaia. Nikiwad uyita eleyator ust edata oinamakata uik atata. Kota esta itla.
Very cool. Thank you. Did you when you were at the conference or otherwise? I know you did with Elizabeth. But they're like 3 or 4 or 5 of you ever just sit around and start talking light language?
No, but we should next time.
Yeah, you should. I could imagine being like at a restaurant in Glastonbury or London or something and walking by a table with 6 ladies speaking light language. Going, what the hell are they saying? Yeah. So let me ask you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we there's an event that happens locally that's called War Weekend, and everyone dresses up in like 40s stuff and as if they're in the army. And I did a little Facebook Live and actually was doing light language as I walked through, but nobody cared, nobody knew. Like sometimes I do that surreptitiously and I pretend I'm on my phone, so I'm just kind of like good luck, and just pretending I'm speaking another language. But that one I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm just going for it.
Yeah, I had somebody send me a note asking me, because I put one of Romeo's things out, and they asked me what language was he speaking. They thought it was a real language. So one last thing. So like what do you said you got something coming up this month, but like do you have any plans or any as these things are available to us in our current stage of awareness? Anything that you're working towards, or anything that you think we're walking into collectively, based on your intel?
I think just more of the same, really, just purging the whatever's in there, whatever's stuck, whatever's deep there is coming out, which is good. And I'm quite excited for 2020. I think, this year may not have been easy, but it's been a huge year for growth, I think, for everybody. So 2020 is just going to be off the charts.
I think so. People were ready to kick 2018 down the road like a can. And then they hear somebody like you say, it's been, and it has been. But it wasn't like last year. Last year was like, oh my God, get me out of here. But, and not to be morbid at all, because we know there's no death. But, I've noticed, of course, everybody knows about Sherilyn last month. But God, there's been I've seen and maybe it's just on my news feed, but I've seen a lot of people that are transitioning, relatives of people. And people used to talk about that like a year or two ago. They'd say there's going to come a time when a lot of people are going to be transitioning. I'm wondering, I never really, bought into it, but I'm like, I wonder if that's really going to happen. And if you think about the fact that we're taking this on in the physical, and everything in the physical is following our energetic things, this whole thing with the separation, kind of in the paradoxical way that the universe teaches, kind of makes sense. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we're going to see more of that? I mean, do you even know what we're going to see? Do any of us do?
I don't, but my feeling is that there will be more of that. And I think, particularly Sherilyn is showing us how there is no separation as well. A lot of people are really connecting with her still. And it's allowing people to let that, if the grief is there, sometimes we feel like we need to have something to attach it to rather than just allowing it out for kind of no good reason. So it's allowed a lot of us to really to shed a lot of that grief, because I think whenever we have grief, we don't really, because it hurts, and you get overdoing it. So as soon as we can stop doing it, we do. So I don't think we ever really get it out as fully as we could do. Certain cultures are much better at it. When I was in New Zealand, the first haka that I ever saw was bringing in, it was at a funeral, and it was as the body was brought in, that was the first haka. And they have women there who are wailing, and just to get everybody crying, to actually get them releasing it instead of holding it in. And I think certainly in the UK, we're not very good at that. So
it's part of it was part of that program, and no doubt about it. But you did say something too that I want to point out again. You said, now whether it's grief or anything, one of the things that I think we're all starting to learn too, like even today, my back's hurting, but it's not a backache. I know it's more than that. And of course it's permeated through your energetic field. So I just went and lay down and put on some neoclassical music and closed my eyes, and you know what I mean? I instead of saying, what is this? What do I need to clear and all this stuff, I can't even frame it all up. So what point is it? But the important thing is, like you said, though, is just allow that grief, or allow that anger, or allow whatever you're feeling. But it's okay. I love this Ingrid Esme that comes on every now and then. She's beautiful. And she gave this talk about how she allows herself to get pissed off, or she allows her feelings when her feelings are are hurt, or whatever the case is, but she's not taking it personal, and she's not projecting on anyone, but she's allowing the body to feel it. And I think that's really important, because so much of what's happened is our patterns of closing, or ignoring stuff, or denying stuff, or not identifying, separating from stuff, right? That's really what it is. So it's funny how this stuff comes in. It's just the simplest things that's where the gold is.
And I think so often we think we shouldn't feel a certain way for whatever reason, or, you know, like the grief that I felt was disproportionate. But I didn't pretend that it wasn't there. I just really allowed myself to go into it instead of thinking, why am I feeling, you know, just brushing it under the carpet because you think you shouldn't. Yeah.
I think and not just with Sherilyn, but the energy and I saw a couple of comments, people saying the same thing, um, of the, you know, the physical representation of the energy in people transitioning is something to really take notice of for me, from my perspective, at this point. Why is it happening? Why is it in our field? Why is this being put in front of us? And I think it has to do with what you said October's been about, which is that separation wound. It doesn't exist. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you for honoring us with your presence and spending time with us. And it's always good to see you. I love the work you do, and you're a beautiful soul. Thank you so much. And until the next time.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Peace. Yeah. Peace. We'll see y'all. All right. Bye-bye.